To make our caterpillar's body, you're going to need a 646. This is pale blue, and I've inflated it to about 6 fingers or so. We've got a good tail on there, and we want to get 4 reasonably equal segments out of this. You're also going to need to have some duplicates of pale blue ready. So I'm making these just 1 stroke of the pump in each 5-inch round. Again, these are pale blue, and then just give them a squeeze to round them off and bring out the shine. So you're going to need to have about 3 of these ready. You're also going to need some 260s. This is Robin's Egg Blue, and it's got about a 6-finger tail. So first of all, take your 646 and give it a good squeeze. And we want to create a bubble that's about 5 inches or so. And then take your duplicate and just attach that like so. And then we're going to make another bubble to match this one, and take a second duplicate and wrap that round. And make another big bubble to match the first 2. And wrap your duplicate around and just cross it over to lock it in place. If you've got as much air left in the balloon as I have, you're going to want to take a little bit out. We want another bubble that is about the same size as this one. So I'm just going to snip a little hole in the end here and deflate. And that's probably about right. And then tie a knot in the end. Whoops, pull tight. So this is what you've got. Take a 5-inch round with just 1 puff of air in, and you're going to want to make a split duplicate with this. So just find the middle point, get hold, put a finger either side of the nozzle and twist. And then just take hold of that with your finger, hold it between your little finger and your hand, and then do the same. So finger either side, and you want 2 bubbles that are reasonably the same size. They don't have to be perfect, but reasonably the same size will do, and then give them a twist round. So this is what you've got. And then we're going to tie this into the base. So position your bubbles so that you've got the same colour next to one another, and then just take your nozzle and just wrap that into that cluster. Next, take a 260 in Robin's Egg Blue or whatever colour you're using, and make 2 bubbles that are about 2 fingers in size, and pinch twist those. I like to pinch twist mine by using the nozzle and just pulling it through. Give your balloon a squeeze, and we're going to be making the quiff on the top of the caterpillar's head. So whatever size you want to make your quiff, mine's about 5 fingers. So make a petal twist and give it a bit of a curl, and then break the rest off. So take the nozzle of your 646 and just pull it through into those 2 pinch twists. Take another 260 Robin's Egg and give it a squeeze, and you're going to take the nozzle and just wrap that into the small cluster of 5-inch rounds at the base. Give the balloon a squeeze, and then bring the bubble bring the balloon up to form a bubble around here, and you're just going to twist off there, okay, and then just twist that into position. So give your balloon a squeeze, and we're going to do the same, another bubble to just go around the outer of the 646, keeping your balloon soft. I'm just going to go all the way up and do that. And when you get to the head, you just want to bring your 260 over the top so that it's keeping that quiff in position, and then you want to do exactly the same and just wrap that 260 into the neck. And if, like me, you're at the end of your 260, you probably want to be wrapping what's left of the nozzle round that duplet of 5-inch balloons so that it's not going to come undone, and that's held securely in position. Take another 260 and with the nozzle just wrap that into the duplets at the neck, or wherever it is that your balloon, your first balloon, has taken you to. And we continue just taking the robin's egg 260 around the edges of the sculpture. And then we've got to the end and just wrap it into that cluster of 4 small 5-inch balloons at the base. And with this little bit that's left, I just turn it into a bit of a tail. So I take the tip and just wrap it into that cluster at the base. Next, you want to create duplets of your darker colour, your darker blue, if that's what you're using. Again, just one puff of air in each. And give the balloons a squeeze to bring out the shine. And then what we want to do with these is bring them through and put them here at each segment. So what we end up with is 2 pale balloons, 5-inch balloons at the front, and 2 darker ones at the back. I'm going to repeat that here and at the neck as well. And take the duplet and just wrap them around the middle of the sculpture and bring them round the back. So this is what we've got so far. Next, we want to make our caterpillar's arms. So make 3 approximately 12-inch bubbles like this, and then split it in half. If you can manage that. Split it in half. And then what we want to do is just bring that through and position the arms there like that. And then we want to put another 2 pairs of arms at this joint here. Take a 12-inch bubble, split it in half, and bring it through the middle here. And you can just twist these 2 round one another. Move this to the back if it's popped forward. To make the hands, you're going to need two 160 pink. This is rose pink, and make two 1-inch bubbles and convert those into pinch twists, and then make another 1-inch bubble and pinch twist that. And then we're going to make just a very small flower petal twist, loop twist, whatever you want to call it. And we have a little hand. And you want to make 6 of these. So break this off, save the rest, tie that off. Tie this bit into a knot. Next, we want to attach the little hands to our caterpillar's arms. So we're just using the nozzle, pulling them through that cluster of 3 pinch twists and attaching them like that. And we do that with all 6 arms. Next, we want to take a robin's egg 5-inch, put 1 puff of air in, let a little bit out, give it a squeeze, and tie like that. That's our nose. We want to position our nose in between the 2 cheeks. So just wrap that into those at the back securely. You can pose your caterpillar in a variety of ways, and so that will affect, you know, how you want him to be sitting. If you want this section here to be going out towards the back, then you need to bring these 2 balloons round to the front a little bit, just to articulate that last segment of the caterpillar's body. To make our character's eyes, you're going to need 1 5-inch round, and just put 1 puff of air in there and tie. And we're going to create a split duplet just by putting our fingers either side of that nozzle and giving a twist. And we want the eyeballs to be as close to equal in size as possible. And sometimes I use that bit of a nozzle just to tie around the middle like that, just to help maintain the pressure evenly on each side of the eyeball. We want to bring these eyeballs underneath the nose and just cross them over. If you want to make a mouth for your character, there are a couple of ways to do it. You could have your mouth going underneath the nose and wrapping into the back of the head, or you could do a very small loop twist, which is what we're going to do on this version. I've done it different ways in the past, and to be perfectly frank, it just depends how I'm feeling as to which one I go with, or what I think the sculpture suits best. Because although we're following the same design and we're doing a tried and tested design, things do turn out slightly differently. These are handmade, handcrafted sculptures. You know, we're not production lining things, so sometimes you just do need to adjust things slightly. And this one, I think I'm going to quite like him with a little mouth like this. So I'm just wrapping that around the eyeballs and into the back of the head here. And then we can adjust everything as we go. We're going to draw our character's face. And don't worry that everything is moving around and will need to be sorted out and put in position. This is a very articulated sculpture, and things do wander out of position until you get the character on the base. But what we want to do now is draw some eyes, and this character has quite what I would describe as hooded eyes. So we're bringing a line across here, and we're basically going to draw a semicircle as best we can. Just going to turn that upside down and try and get a better outline. And then we're going to do the same as closely as we can on the other side. And then our character is looking to one side, so we're going to shade this in here. And here. Okie dokie. I am going to put a white paint spot in his eye, but I'm going to leave that to dry. Now he's also got some quite arched eyebrows, and I'm going to share with you one of my trade secrets for drawing faces, and that is these templates, which I find incredibly useful. So we're going to use this ellipse template to try and help us get the effect that we want from the eyebrows. To do that, I'm going to turn the sculpture upside down. And it's not the easiest thing to do with his quiff in where it is. But I'm going to use this smaller ellipse here. And then I'm going to move it over, and I'm going to try and get it as evenly as possible on the other side, which is sometimes easier said than done, especially I would normally sort of balance this on something, and I'm trying to hold it up in the air. So let's see how that is. Okay. And then we want to go for a slightly larger ellipse to go over the top. This is looking a lot harder than it usually is. And one again. And then I just fill in And then I will do the same thing to get a wrinkle on his forehead above. Decided not to bother with the template this time, just try and be a bit quicker. And then we take our Heading 750 white paint marker, make sure that it's got some white paint in there, and we're just going to put white dots. Make that one a little bit bigger. We're going to put our sculpture onto a base. This base is 2 tiers of 11-inch balloons, the bottom one sized to 7 inches, the top to about 6.5. And as usual, I'm using my sand weight. I would always, in the real world, use a sand weight covered with the same colour of balloon as my base. So that's a double stuffed 11-inch balloon, inflated, let the air out, and then fill it with some sand to the weight that you need. And the sand I like to use always is play sand. I know some people prefer to use kiln dried sand, but to my mind play sand has gone through several layers of approvals to approve it as safe for children, so that's the preference I have. So to attach our sculpture to the base, you're going to take a couple of 160s or 260s and just pull them through those clusters here. And then we're going to take our base and we're going to pull the 160s or 260s through the base, pull all the way down and figure of 8 around those balloons in the base. And do the same on the other side. Through and figure of 8 around, and then just let it go, pull taut and let it go. And then you can adjust your character to sit on the base however you want him to look. Okay, next we're going to make our character's vaping instrument, which I believe is called a hooker, H-O-O-K-A-H. And what I've got here is a 12-inch quick link, which I've inflated fully, and then I've let the air out to about 7 inches when measured between the tip and the nozzle. I've not tied it just yet, because what I'm going to do, I'm just going to take the opportunity while I'm tying to just tie in an attachment point for the base. So I'm saving the knot, I've just got something there that I can pull down into the base. So we're going to give our quick link a bit of a squeeze, get some of the air into that nozzle area, and then we're going to take that cluster of nozzles and knots and push it into the base of that quick link tip. And once we've got hold of it, we're going to give it a twist and get a bit of 160, wrap it around and tie a knot. And then tie a second knot. Next we're going to take a 350 gold and we're going to tie it to one of those attachment points. We can trim off the excess here. And then we take a 260 in gold, give it a bit of a squeeze and make 2 1-inch bubbles at the beginning. Bring them together, pinch twist them, give your balloon a squeeze, And then we're just going to use this to wrap around the base of the 350 to give it a bit of a collar. And then you can pop off your gold 260 and tie. So you're going to take a little bit of scrap 260 in gold or a similar colour, tie a couple of knots in the end, and then what you're going to do, you're going to position those knots. I'm just going to snip off that bit of excess at the end. You're going to position those knots on top of the nozzle, push the air through to the nozzle area, and then with your finger push the nozzles through, grab hold at the base and give a twist and tie off with a little bit of scrap 160. Next, take your vaping instrument and twist off a bubble, and we can cut off the rest. Tie a knot, and take your apple twisted 5-inch round and just tie it to the top of that 350 gold, and we can snip off all the bits of excess there. Next, take a 160 gold, which just has a 3-finger tail, and make 3 small pinch twists at the beginning. Each pinch twist of about 1 inch. Okay, with a squeeze, and take the tip and tie into this apple twisted 5-inch round here. Tie twice and snip off the excess. Quite hard to get it all in the frame. Take another 160 gold and make a couple of 1-inch pinch twists. And take your pipe machine instrument and just wrap that round there as a collar, just to tidy up the base of that 5-inch round, and tie a knot. And there we have our vaping instrument for our caterpillar. So just take these tails that you've got here and pull them through as we did before the caterpillar himself, and just figure of 8 them around the cluster of balloons that form the base. And then you can start to position this however you want it to be. We can kind of snake this around a little bit so that until it's coming into his hand. I want him holding the pipe. So I think I probably want to give a little twist here, and I'm just going to wrap that into his hand here so that secures the mouthpiece of our caterpillar. So we've got quite a long bit of pipe here that I don't just want to leave floating around in the air, but I do want it to be long. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take a bit of gold 160 and just gently put it over the top of the pipe, and then I'm going to pull this through in between the 646 of the body and the 260 that outlines the body, and I'm just going to use that and then pull these tails through into the base. We're now going to create a little bit of smoke for our pipe just by creating a series of 1-inch bubbles. And just do however many you want. And this is one of those instances where if your bubbles come undone once you've attached them to the pipe, it really doesn't matter, because we want this to look like smoke, and smoke isn't uniform, so it doesn't matter if they come undone. We'll just create however many we want to achieve the effect that we want. I'm just going to bring the sculpture back. And the trick here is to hang on to the first bubble and the last bubble. So you're just going to wrap that into the mouthpiece there. And I think I'm actually going to undo quite deliberately a couple of these bubbles, because I do want it to look a little less uniform and more smoke-like. And then when you're happy with how it looks, just bring the rest of that 260 back into the base there, snip off the end, tie that off, and then just tidy it up and cut off any excess. And here we have our completed caterpillar sculpture.